Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today, we're setting off on a massive, high-stakes historical adventure. We're going to travel way back in time to figure out exactly how ancient sailors managed to conquer the world's terrifyingly huge oceans without any of the modern tech we rely on today. I mean, think about it. No GPS, no smartphones, definitely no satellite maps. Just human brainpower and a little bit of invisible magic from the Earth itself. So if you've ever wondered how early explorers made it across the globe without getting hopelessly lost at sea, well, you are absolutely in the right place. Let's get into it.
Okay, I want you to really picture this in your head. Imagine you're standing on the deck of a huge creaking wooden ship, maybe 1,000 years ago. Your ship is loaded to the brim with super valuable spices from the coastal town of Kerala in India, and you're sailing way out across the deep ocean for a big trade. It's the middle of the night. You look around and all you can see is dark, endless water. So how on earth do you know which way is home? Well, in the olden days, sailors just looked up. They relied entirely on the patterns of the stars in the night sky to find their way. The stars were literally their only map. But, as you can probably guess, depending completely on the stars came with one massive, incredibly dangerous flaw.
Right, so imagine the most terrifying situation possible. Those sailors suddenly get caught in a massive storm. The wind is just howling, waves are crashing over the deck, and most importantly, the sky goes completely overcast. The clouds roll in so thick that everything is pitch black. The stars? Completely gone. In an instant, these sailors are totally lost at sea. They have absolutely zero way to know if they're heading toward the safety of the shore or steering straight into worse danger. I mean, this was a true life or death problem for early explorers. They desperately needed a backup plan for when the stars were hiding.
Which brings us to Section 1, the magnetic solution, discovering nature's magic stone.
To solve this huge crisis, ancient people didn't just instantly invent a complicated machine. Actually, they discovered something amazing that was already sitting right there in nature. They found these really special, naturally magnetic rocks called lodestones. Now, these weren't your average everyday rocks. People realized that if you took a piece of this lodestone and suspended it so it could spin freely, it would always, almost like magic, come to rest pointing in the exact same direction, every single time. This was a total game changer. Sailors realized, hey, we don't even need the stars anymore. We can use these naturally occurring magnets to find our way through the absolute darkest of storms. But why did these rocks actually do this?
Section 2. Earth, a giant magnet. How does the magic actually work?
To really understand the magic here, we have to look at the completely mind-blowing scientific reality of our own planet. The Earth itself is actually a giant magnet. Seriously, we all know about the geographical North and South poles, right? Like the actual top and bottom of the planet on a map. But Earth also has magnetic poles because it generates its own massive magnetic field. It honestly behaves just like there's a huge bar magnet hidden deep down inside the planet. Now, here's the wild part. The North Pole of this imaginary inner magnet is actually near the geographical South Pole, and the South Pole of this magnet is near the geographical North Pole. Scientists call this a geomagnetic alignment. So when a freely suspended magnet, like that lodestone, points north, it's actually interacting with the massive magnetic field of the entire Earth. How cool is that?
And let's bring this closer to home, because this exact same incredible science is built into things you probably use every single day. The invisible force guiding those massive ships, it's probably sitting right inside your school backpack. Have you ever noticed those little magnets that snap your pencil box shut? Or the magnets on a purse? Or even the ones holding the duster to the whiteboard in your classroom? Those artificial magnets, just like the standard red bar magnets you play with in the science lab, work on the exact same principles as the lodestones used by ancient sailors. The only difference is we've just figured out how to make our own magnets out of materials like iron instead of having to go dig up special rocks.
So over time, understanding all of this led to a brilliant, life-saving invention, the magnetic compass. Instead of lugging around a heavy rock, the compass uses a tiny, super thin piece of a magnet that's shaped into a pointed needle. They balance this needle perfectly on a little pin right in the center, and the whole thing is enclosed safely inside a small circular box with a glass cover. Because it's balanced so perfectly on that pin, the magnetic needle can just spin and rotate freely, and thanks to Earth's giant magnetic field we just talked about, one end of that needle, which is usually painted red, will always swing around and stop, pointing right at the north direction.
And using this amazing tool is incredibly simple, which is exactly what you want when you're a sailor caught in a stressful, crazy storm. First, you just place the compass down perfectly flat wherever you're standing. Second, you wait just a second for that little needle to stop wobbling and come to a complete rest in the north-south direction. And finally, you gently rotate the actual compass box until the north and south markings on the dial perfectly line up with the resting needle. Boom! Once you do that, every single other direction, east, west, northeast, is perfectly laid out for you right there on the dial. Suddenly, navigating the open ocean becomes a whole lot safer.
Moving on to Section 3, the Ancient Fish Compass, the brilliant Matsya-yantra.
Now I have to share this super cool real-world fact from history. Way before people were widely using the modern glass-covered magnetic compasses we just looked at, ancient Indian sailors had their own, completely unique, brilliant version of this tool. They called it the Matsya-yantra, which literally translates to fish machine. Instead of balancing a needle on a pin, picture this. They used a magnetized piece of iron that was shaped exactly like a little fish. And to let it spin freely to find north, they didn't use a pin at all. Instead, they just floated this iron fish in a vessel filled with oil. It's kind of like floating a magnetized needle on a cork in a bowl of water. The oil allowed the iron fish to smoothly rotate, perfectly align with Earth's magnetic field, and safely guide Indian ships across the seas. Genius, right?
So, let's take a second to recap the incredible journey we've gone on in this explainer. We started way back in the ancient era, where sailors were totally at the mercy of the weather, surviving only if they had a clear view of the stars. Then we hit the early discovery phase, where humans stumbled upon the awesome secret of natural lodestones. That evolved into some truly amazing regional inventions, like ancient Indian sailors navigating with that floating Matsya-yantra fish compass. And finally, it all led us to the modern era, bringing us those highly accurate glass-enclosed magnetic compasses that literally changed world exploration forever.
At the end of the day, the absolute most crucial takeaway is really captured in this one simple rule of science. A freely suspended magnet always rests along the north-south direction. Whether you're holding a raw chunk of lodestone, floating an iron fish in a bowl of oil, or staring at a tiny red-painted needle inside a brass box, this single golden rule is what made global trade, exploration, and the mapping of our entire world possible. It all boils down to the undeniable fact that our planet is constantly pulling on these metals with a massive, invisible, silent force. Which kind of leaves us with this final thought. Earth's invisible magnetic field is out there, right now, silently guiding giant ships, airplanes, and compasses all over the globe, and you don't even feel a thing. It really makes you wonder, what other incredible, completely invisible forces are acting on you and your everyday world right this very second, just waiting to be discovered? Keep looking closely at the world around you, stay curious, and hey, thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. See you next time.